Have you ever wondered how a simple farmer's boy changed the world with his invention? If not, then let me share with you the story of Henry Ford, the man behind the Ford Motor Company, who turned his childhood curiosity into a revolution in transportation. He didn't just dream, he made those dreams come true by creating affordable cars for everyone. Let's take a look at how a farmer boy became one of the most famous inventors in history. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get regular updates. Let's dive in. Early life and interest in machines. Henry Ford was born on July 30, 1863, on a farm in Dearborn, Michigan. His father, William Ford, owned a farm, and as the oldest of 6 children, Henry was expected to help with the farm's laborious work. However, Henry had little interest in farming. He often felt the work was tedious and slow. He expressed this sentiment later in life, saying, "I never had any particular love for the farm. It was the mother on the farm I loved." Although Henry wasn't fond of farming, he developed a love for mechanics at a young age. Unlike most children who enjoyed playing with toys, Henry was drawn to the inner workings of machines. His fascination with machinery began when, at the age of 12, his father gave him a pocket watch. Henry took it apart and reassembled it multiple times, learning how it worked and becoming known as a skilled watch repairman in his neighborhood. When Henry turned 13, he encountered a steam engine during a school trip to Detroit. This experience ignited his passion for engineering. By the time he was 15, he had constructed his first steam engine, further solidifying his desire to work with machinery and engines. However, tragedy struck when Henry's mother, Mary Ford, passed away unexpectedly. The loss had a profound impact on Henry, making him even more determined to leave the farm and pursue a different life. A new beginning in Detroit. At the age of 16, Henry left his father's farm against his wishes, seeking a new direction in Detroit. At that time, Detroit was becoming a hub of industry, attracting engineers and inventors looking for work. Henry began his career by taking a job at the Michigan Car Company Works, a streetcar manufacturing company. However, his stay there was short-lived. He was fired after just 6 days. But Henry didn't let this setback discourage him. He found a job as an apprentice at the James Flower & Brothers machine shop, earning $2.60 per week, though it was not enough to cover his living expenses. To make ends meet, Henry worked as a jeweler, repairing watches at night for an additional $3 per week. Even with these demanding jobs, Henry continued to experiment with machines in his free time. In 1882, Henry returned home to Michigan. He continued to show little interest in farming, preferring instead to spend time tinkering with the machines he found on his father's farm. One such machine, a portable steam engine, became a favorite project for Henry. His talent in operating and repairing the steam engine soon gained attention, and he began to earn money by operating it for neighbors. By 1885, Henry's skills had earned him a job with the Westinghouse Engine Company, where he traveled throughout Michigan setting up and servicing steam engines. Around this time, he met Clara Jane Bryant, and the two became engaged. As a wedding gift, Henry's father gave him 40 acres of land, but Henry, disinterested in farming, chose to pursue a career in engineering instead. The turning point, discovering the gas engine. In 1891, Henry and Clara moved to Detroit, where Henry stumbled upon a British magazine that introduced him to the gas engine, a new invention at the time. The gas engine was vastly different from the steam engine. It was more efficient, didn't require long warm-up times, and operated on internal combustion. The idea of a gas-powered engine fascinated Henry, but there was one problem. He didn't understand how it worked. To learn more, Henry applied for a job at the Edison Illuminating Company, where he worked as a night engineer. His job involved maintaining the company's steam engines, but this left him plenty of time to study electricity and mechanics. By 1893, Henry had successfully created his first working gas engine, a critical first step toward his goal of creating a horseless carriage. On June 4, 1896, Henry completed his first experimental car, which he called the quadricycle. This early vehicle was a crude, bicycle-like design powered by a gasoline engine. Though it had several problems, such as overheating due to the lack of a cooling system, the experiment was a success. Henry sold the quadricycle for $200 and used the proceeds to fund his next project. Early business failures. Ford's first venture into the automobile business began in 1899 when he founded the Detroit Automobile Company. However, this company failed after just 1 year. One major reason was that Ford's vision for improvement did not align with the expectations of his investors, who were more focused on making passenger cars. Additionally, relying on outside suppliers for parts caused production delays. Ford's first car, the delivery wagon, was slow to produce, and only 20 were made in the company's first 2 years. After being fired from his own company, Ford remained optimistic. He famously said, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." Despite his setback, Ford turned to racing cars to gain attention and attract investors. In 1901, he built a race car that outpaced competitor Alexander Winton's car, and soon after, Ford received the backing he needed to establish the Ford Motor Company in 1903. Ford Motor Company and the Model T. With a new company and investors on board, Ford set to work creating an automobile that would be affordable for the average person. His vision was clear. "I will build a motor car for the great multitude, constructed of the best materials, by the best men to be hired, after the simplest designs that modern engineering can devise, and sold at a price so low that no man making a good salary will be unable to own one." After several years of designing and refining his cars, Ford finally created the Model T in 1908. The Model T was simple, durable, and affordable, and it quickly became a hit in America. Within a short time, the Ford Motor Company had become the leading automobile manufacturer in the country. One of Ford's most significant contributions to the automobile industry was the introduction of the assembly line. While working in his factory, Ford saw a method used in Chicago slaughterhouses to process animals on an assembly line. Inspired by this, he applied the same principles to car manufacturing. The result was a huge increase in production efficiency. By 1913, Ford had perfected the assembly line, reducing the time it took to build a car from 12 hours to just 90 minutes. This innovation allowed Ford to produce cars at an unprecedented rate, making the Model T affordable for the average American worker. By 1914, Ford was producing more cars than all other manufacturers combined. Ford's assembly line also changed the way workers were treated. To retain skilled laborers, Ford doubled the wages of his employees, raising their pay to $5 a day. This move, initially criticized by other businesses, proved to be successful as workers from across the country flocked to Detroit in search of better wages. Ford's decision to increase wages not only improved worker satisfaction, but also contributed to the overall success of his business. Challenges and the end of the Model T. Despite Ford's success, by the late 1920s, the Model T's sales began to decline. Consumers were becoming interested in more stylish, comfortable cars, which Ford had neglected to create. In 1927, after resisting change for many years, Ford introduced the Model A, a new car designed to meet the changing demands of the market. However, by this time, other companies, like General Motors, had gained market share, and Ford's company fell to third place in the automobile industry. Henry Ford continued to innovate throughout his life, but the rise of the Great Depression in the 1930s led to significant challenges for Ford Motor Company. Ford eventually turned control of the company over to his grandson, Henry II, in 1945. Henry Ford passed away on April 7, 1947, but his legacy lived on. Today, Ford Motor Company remains one of the largest and most influential automobile manufacturers in the world, with a market cap of around $70 billion. That's all for now. If you enjoyed watching the video, like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing updates. Thanks for watching.